Okay, good afternoon and welcome to On the Run with your editorial team. As always, I'm Dylan Johnson here with Chelsea Sherman and Josh Fisher. We are back today and it's starting to get a little sunny outside. It was a rainy day here in Virginia Beach.
I mean, at least it's not like a cold rain, where you walk outside and it like turns to ice on your skin and you're like, ah!
Did anybody get stuck outside yesterday when it just like was downpouring and I didn't have an
Couple
umbrella
times.
or my raincoat on? It was such a Monday for me yesterday.
It has been so humid. I feel like I'm back home in Texas. It's just ridiculous.
Wow.
Maybe it'll go away soon.
I've had the air conditioner on, not because it's really that hot, just because I feel like my skin has been dripping. It's my least favorite thing. But it's a nice day. We are moving right along here at the Daily Runner. We had a very good weekend on social media. Chelsea wrote a post about the movie Noah, which I'm sure you guys maybe have heard something about, that performed really well. It had over 900 people see it this weekend, and we added like 38 people to our Facebook page, so it was a very good weekend for us.
It was a good article, too.
It was.
Thanks, guys.
Very good. So we're excited about that. Let's see what else is going on. Still, we're winding down to the end of the year.
Yep, 3 more weeks.
3 more weeks. Doesn't seem like just 3.
Is it really 3?
Well, for 15-week classes,
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
So 3
boy.
or 4, depending on how many. That's
I
crazy.
started my projects,
Final projects?
a couple of them.
Yeah, I'm starting to... I can see all of my projects laid out in front of me now. Like, I can see
They're not
them.
done, but
know.
yeah.
That's good, though. Making progress. Cool. So should we dive right into it today?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right. By the way, you're looking at our beautiful website. I hope you all visit it often. So this one is Josh's first article.
It just jumped out to me.
It
It
just
really
grabbed his attention.
hit me, yeah.
Okay.
Chelsea doesn't know who Archie is. Dylan knows, right?
I know
Archie.
who he is, but
Uh-huh.
I can't say that I've read him in the last decade.
Well, he's in the funnies on occasion, Not that I still read the funnies, but I mean...
But you are familiar with the character?
Yes.
Okay.
And they're doing this thing now where they're doing... Well, first of all, let's go back. The character's been around since 1941.
Okay.
Okay, so it's pretty old, And they're doing this thing now called Life with Archie. And the idea is it's sort of a spin-off. It shows Archie as he's grown up, different scenarios that happen in his life. And it was revealed today that one of these is that Archie will die.
But it's not going to affect the actual comic. They're going to
Not
continue
really.
to write that.
But
It just seems ironic to me that in a comic entitled, well, first of all, there's actually several layers of irony here. First of all, in the comic strip entitled The Life of Archie, he's going to die. Okay. Second of all, in a comic strip, someone is going to die?
yeah.
I did not. When I was reading comics, they were like pretty lighthearted,
I agree.
Garfield ate the lasagna.
Yeah.
But now we have delved into death and utter destruction in comics. It's a new day dawning.
The CEO of Archie Comics says they've been seen as a dormant nostalgia brand stuck in amber for quite some time, and people thought they were still stuck in the 50s, and now they're just trying to switch it up. So,
Well, that's one way to switch it up. Just
yeah.
Well, maybe that was like the style of the comic to be in the 50s.
50s,
I don't
yeah.
get it. Like if he's been around since 1940 and... Okay.
Who knows? I just thought it was
what a life we
interesting.
lead. All right. On to the next.
Yep.
Do you feel we've adequately covered Archie's death?
Sure, yeah.
This week in news.
He's been covered enough. Okay.
Okay, so this one is fairly interesting. It's been a few months now. I want to say like 2 to 3 months ago, Ezra Klein, who formerly worked for the Washington Post, left the Post, which is of course a very storied magazine, a very storied newspaper that's quite famous and prestigious, and he left it for a company called Vox Media, which owns TheVerge.com, which is a very popular culture and technology website. They also own a couple other verticals But the newest one they're launching now is called Vox.com. Excuse me, and this is where Ezra Klein left to run this. So it's a very interesting, it's a brand new, beautiful website, but it's not just a new website, a new news website. They have a different type of perspective on this. So and I want to kind of discuss this today. So do you want to explain how they're going to cover the news, and then we'll discuss it?
Essentially, the idea is to have more or less explain the news, to provide context with the news, similar to if you read a Wikipedia article, you can click through to the various components and sort of, understand the whole topic. And that's what Vox intends to do with the news.
Can you scroll down a little bit?
Yeah.
It's a very pretty website.
It's beautiful, yeah. And they used a highlighter yellow, like taking one of the primary features of the site is they're calling it cards, which are basically how they're going to explain each thing using cards that you can swipe through. So, let's do the gender wage gap, just because there's some information. Okay, so now instead of getting like just a regular article, you have cards that kind of summarize and then review. So this one says it essentially defines gender wage gap, which is the difference between how much men and women are paid. And it says it's surprisingly, it's very detailed, and I like it a lot.
So then on the left there you have...
These are all the different cards. So in this topic, what they do is they have 13 cards. So what is it? You could ask, why is there a gender wage gap? How big is the wage gap? Et cetera, et cetera. Now this is, I think it's a good thing and a dangerous thing. So let me say why I think it's a good thing. I think it's very good to see modern media coming at news from a different angle.
Sure.
However, I find the idea of a news agency defining facts and then commenting on those facts via articles very concerning.
Well, my thing would be, I wouldn't cite this. Like, if I were looking for, an actual source for a story I'm writing, I might go here if I have a question like, I'm writing about the gender wage gap. I wonder what, those figures are. I would go and look here, but this doesn't look to me like something that I could directly quote. Like, I would click on maybe one of the links that they have to a different, to one of their sources, but I don't know. Like, I feel like because it's Wikipedia-like, it doesn't seem like a valid news source to me right now. Maybe it is, and people will eventually accept it to be that way. But I don't. From what I'm looking at right now, that's how I would feel about it.
See, that's. I think I agree with that. I love the idea of having cards that explain the news, because what we're looking at here are their cards on subject, so you can understand the news. But they also have stories where you get a full story, if it'll load, and then they'll build their cards, their information, they'll link to their cards. So it's almost like two departments.
Sure.
And I would almost like to see them go into an area where their cards are like developed and done by historians or experts on the, because I think you're right, you can't just source Fox Media cards, but you should be able to maybe source them if they say, this just like an author, like a story has an author, these cards I think should have a proper source.
I mean, if you think about it, so many people use Wikipedia to get their information, and there's all that about, is Wikipedia credible, and obviously you don't want to cite it in a paper or anything like that, but the idea that we could actually have a more credible Wikipedia that helps us understand what's going on in the world around us, I think that's a great idea.
And of course, one of the tricks of Wikipedia, and something maybe even Vox could implement, is you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page on Wikipedia and you get they've got a footnote that sometimes is half the length of the article, and so it sends you to more scholarly sources, which I think gives the article a little more credibility.
I think this is good in the sense that, oftentimes you maybe visit whatever news page you visit, say Washington Post, and you get an article about, I don't know, if it was an opinion
Bitcoin.
on Bitcoin, yeah, because there's a lot of controversy
Yeah.
about it.
And it's extremely
And
difficult to
you're
understand.
like, what is this? You
Yeah.
know, you don't get that on Washington Post. You have to go and maybe Google search elsewhere to find out what that is. And that's kind of how that's how you lose people when
Yeah,
you're
I
on your
agree.
website. You know, you lose them to,
Especially when
wherever
your
they
audience
go
has
to.
such a short attention span, which modern audiences definitely.
Yep.
And that's
So
one of the things I like
that's
about
why
the
that's
cards. They're
smart.
just like short little blurbs,
Mm-hmm.
and they, tell you what you need to know in a direct and simple way.
Yeah, by answering questions. So it should be very interesting to see how this develops. I know they're well funded, so it's not just going to be a 6-month trial and they shut the thing down.
Right.
Yeah.
But I also know, I mean, when Vox Media takes a stand on something, I mean, The Verge is only 2-3 years old, and it's already one of the top news tech sites in the world. So that's my concern with this is I think the design is course top notch, what you expect from them, and I love the idea, and I'm worried that it's going to be so popular that they're essentially going to be writing history as it happens, which I think given the trend that our current, the way the world's going, I think that could be a problem. But
Yeah.
I think it's a very effective.
I mean, it's kind of encyclopedia-ish, if
Yeah.
you think about it. So back then, who was compiling that information? You
Yeah.
know, just
Well, you're always going
researchers.
to have, a perspective, but
And if you could have just like multiple websites like Vox that are sort of
Yeah.
offshoots
Sure.
with different perspectives
could.
and different
Exactly.
definitions of facts and things like that. I mean, this could be a great new platform for news that
Yeah.
everybody takes on.
Yeah.
I mean, it does look very exciting, and it's only been up since Sunday, but I've visited every day since. And it looks
Yeah,
very
I mean,
interesting.
it's a very smart way to take on, the obvious problems in news that we've all addressed, low attention span of viewers, the propensity to click through and, change what they're looking at.
And it's
But if it's all
very-
right there for them,
Yeah, and it's very in depth, which is something else I like.
Right.
There gets to be sometimes we don't want to go in depth because we fear they won't understand our in depth.
Sure.
Which is a valid, I think, fear. You don't want to be writing something that's completely unintelligible to the general audience. So I love the idea of explaining it within the same site.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
I still don't
We'll see.
understand Bitcoin. Maybe I should visit that.
Right.
Yeah, me
Maybe I
too.
should look through that later. What?
Yeah. Bitcoin is just, should we? Bitcoin is
Yeah,
just
why not?
one of those
Explain it to
things
Chelsea.
that. Okay, so Bitcoin. See, I know it enough, but I couldn't even understand it. So let's just read this. Bitcoin is a new kind of global payment network. Like MasterCard or PayPal, it allows money to be transmitted electronically. But Bitcoin is different from these conventional payment networks in 2 different ways. First, it's fully decentralized, which means it doesn't have an owner. It says instead of a MasterCard Inc., there's no Bitcoin Inc. Instead, thousands of computers around the world process Bitcoin transaction in a peer-to-peer fashion.
Okay,
Peer-to-peer meaning.
but somebody would have had to create that, and
Well,
what do they do? Just let it go?
Actually, a
after
few
that?
months ago, there was a big controversy. I think it was Newsweek magazine, one of those magazines claimed to have found the founder or the inventor of Bitcoin. Of course, he claimed it wasn't him. Blah blah blah.
Huh.
So there's actually no one has taken credit for establishing Bitcoin.
On purpose, probably.
Probably, yeah. So the value of a Bitcoin fluctuates, much like the value of a dollar fluctuates or a euro. Essentially, it's just a virtual currency.
Okay.
The worrisome thing for me is the United States, for example, views it as a property. The IRS recently ruled that it is not a currency, it's a piece of property. So if you own 1 Bitcoin, that Bitcoin's worth X amount of dollars on today. that the U.S. government doesn't tax it like $1, like you have $600. It taxes it like you have
So really,
one
you
piece
should
of property.
invest in these things.
Well, that's what they say. You know, it can be, and a lot of people have done that. But they've had in the last 6 months 3 to 5 major exchanges have failed. One of the biggest was Mount GOX. Mount. I've never figured out how to say that. But it recently went into bankruptcy and lost hundreds of millions of dollars worth of bitcoins.
Oh, wow.
3 weeks ago, they say, oh, here's $100 million worth of the bitcoins we couldn't find that they had in a wallet. So
But it's just an online thing,
But it's just-
so
exactly.
you could easily get hacked or something
people
like
hack
that.
into
Okay.
it, steal them. And because it's so difficult to mine these bitcoins, they pile up.
So
There's
play
different
at your own
versions.
risk.
Exactly, it's a big play at your own risk thing, and it's
Okay.
Yeah.
One Bitcoin is
I-
worth $500. Okay.
well, and it varies widely. So when China said it wasn't currency, it dropped $100 in a day. U.S. says it
Sounds
is,
like currency to me. I mean,
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. They've got 19 cards.
Yeah, and I like how there's like a little bit of tude with it too. Like,
Yeah.
why are geeks excited about a new payment
Yeah,
network?
for sure.
And it's
I mean,
fun
if you
and
don't,
light.
if that's not how you make your stuff sound, people aren't going to read
Yeah,
it
if
anymore.
they're reading, they don't want to read from a robot.
Yeah,
Right.
it's not so much scholarly as it is just like it's laid out
Yeah.
bare for you.
That's really good for, I think this generation too, because we are just so high maintenance as
Yeah.
far as like keeping us interested,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
That's like, I've been referring to this in my head as kind of the anti-BuzzFeed.
yeah.
Because
okay.
BuzzFeed is all about get in, get out, get you to the next article. This is more of a get in, spend a few minutes with an article, and don't
Yeah.
leave.
That's good though. Maybe it'll
Bring
help
some
improve
balance.
some people's attention spans.
Yeah.
We should wrap up. We got a meeting.
Okay, it's a short one this week. We had a bit of a delay when we started recording. Keep an eye out for news run coming each Friday. We've been doing that and keeping up with it. This will be up on Wednesday, which hopefully is today if you're watching it. Last week we did an episode of News Bar. It was just a preview of what's going to come next year. If you want to go watch that, you can always email us if you have any ideas for how to tweak that. We have a few ways we're going to fix it, things like that. Otherwise, keep an eye out for our articles and check us out every day at dailyrunneronline.com. Thanks.
See ya.